It's beautiful. I think it's so needed to start to incorporate that and to allow it once it's matured and it's an actual expression of how you want to relate. That's when it'll feel normal and or feel more natural. For individuals that like the thing is that you got to get at is to like relinquish the inner need to be right. Like you want to win instead of actually learn from the experience, the dynamics, right? And so do you have an example of moving through some of these stages where like a conflict came up within maybe your partnership or somebody else's that you've helped them through? Because I think it's helpful to also frame it in like real-time experience.
Yeah. So, my wife and I ask each other and ourselves 2 questions. Do you want to be right or do you want to be love? And what would love do now? So if you just ask that question like in conflict, what would love do now? And maybe love would be a stand for the truth that is being expressed. But how would love then express that truth? Like, would love express it with violence and resentment and anger and rage? Or would love express it in a different way? But we have to get really honest with ourselves. And most people don't want to be really honest with themselves. I know there are many times I don't want to be honest with myself because my ego doesn't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question around conflict, right?
Yeah, if there's an example also that particularly stuck out.
Yeah, where this need to be right. Well, I often have this need to be right because
Join the club.
Yeah, and I own that because I felt I was made so wrong as a kid. And so my compensatory strategy was to argue very well and be very loud, not as a child, not even as a teenager, but towards my later teens and adulthood where I started becoming bigger and stronger and I just became more aggressive and was fighting every weekend and drinking alcohol and doing all those things that many young men in Australian culture will do to prove their manhood. That's their rite of passage. I mean, get me started on ineffective rites of passage in the Western world. Well, you may want to get me started on that later. But it became that for me. And so it became a habit to need to be right because I felt so threatened. Every time someone disagreed with me, every time someone said, no, that's not true for me, I made that an attack on me personally because I hadn't gotten over and I hadn't resolved the pain that I experienced as a young boy growing up, being made to be wrong, being reprimanded all the time just for dropping a spoon on the floor, being screamed at for not finishing my food or, by my father, like this intense family life growing up and never really having a voice. So when I got some power back, I wanted my voice. Yeah. So how that translates into relationship is sometimes when I'm in overwhelm or I'm not regulated in my nervous system, I'm in this reactive posture, so everything feels like a threat to me. And as a result of that, I often feel shame. So I withdraw, but then after a while, it's insidious pattern. Then after a while, to compensate for the shame that I feel, I get very angry. So now, I need to be right because that's one of the ways that I express my anger. I express control in the world. So now no matter what the fuck you say, I'm just going to be against it, even if I agree with it. I'm going to find something that I can disagree with in that just to have conflict so that I can win or at least attempt to win so I can feel in control. Now, that's not me, my adult 40-year-old self here and now. Yeah. That is my nervous system regressing. So that's an example. And I'll do that with my wife where I will then criticize her and I will make judgments on her. Like I will say to her, oh yeah, see, like you're a glass half empty person. I'm a glass half full person. So I'm trying to elevate myself and belittle her. That's not appropriate in conflict and it's not appropriate in intimate relationship or any meaningful relationship. And I'm coming from my reactive self. Now, over the years, I said that to her the other day, actually, literally the other day. So this isn't like a 10 years ago thing or 5 years ago thing. I said it to her the other day. And I also am able to apologize and take ownership in real time and say, look, I'm sorry I said that. Here's what's actually happening and what's underneath that. And you don't deserve me saying that to you. So please accept my apology. And I'm doing my best to be aware of that pattern as it comes up.